Beautiful, mysterious lace. One day it arrived on the sandy shores of Calais to settle forever and begin the life of Dentelle de Calais. For it to become finished lace, the know-how and talent of many expert hands is required, putting together the long process of 1,000 secrets which make Dentelle de Calais a noble, luxurious product, very much in demand. The starting point is the pencil, a combination of imagination and technique. The body of the lace motif appears through the designer's fingers. With roses and curls he draws the sketch, translating into color code the movement of gimps and liners. Finally, the yarn work is concluded, showing the draftsman the final shape of the motifs. So begins the draft, which is the translation of the sketch into the technical requirements of the machine. Starting from the sketch, which is enlarged 6 times, the draftsman enters each movement, first for the work of liners and gimp yarns. And then a second time for the ground yarns. This will finally give a multitude of stitches, similar to handmade lace. Each movement will be taken during the checking process and recorded into numerical code, and then translated into punched cards. The punching, which was traditionally done on pianos, is nowadays progressively being replaced by computerized machines. According to the complexity of the motif, between 600 and 1,000 cards are placed side by side and then laced together in 2 distinct sets, one for the pattern yarns and the other for the ground yarns. The thousands of yarns required for the production of Dentelle de Calais are carefully prepared. The quality of weaving and beauty of the ground of the lace depend on the regularity of winding tension. The preparation also requires a skilled hand to fill the bobbins, which consist of 100 meters of yarn on each winding. In order to standardize the thickness of the bobbins and give them their final shape, they're pressed and heated in an oven at 130 degrees Celsius. The bobbin is then placed inside the carriage, this being the most important part of Dentelle de Calais weaving. Each Leavers machine uses 5,000 carriages simultaneously. The responsibility and the duty to guarantee 1/10 of a millimeter adjustments to these carriages also depends on very skillful workers. As a final step in preparation, putting the bobbin into the carriage also requires a skilled hand. Carriages are then checked, weighed and sorted out according to the suppleness of the unrolling of the yarn in each bobbin. Standing in front of the Leavers machine like a captain on the bridge of his ship, the twist hand controls some 15,000 yarns which weave the web of lace. From the movement of cards, the clockwork of the gear wheels, to the regular stamping of the bars pushing the 5,000 carriages, the twist hand thoroughly checks the constant regularity of the pattern which materializes stitch by stitch. The weaving of dentelle de Calais lace is produced by the alternate meeting of warp yarns powered by sets of cards and the weft yarns interworked by the movement of carriages and bobbins. All those parts working in the heart of the machine are lubricated with a fine graphite powder. After production, each lace web is examined by the ruthless eye of the inspection people. Each fault is marked, then the web is passed on. Before presetting and dyeing, the dentelle de Calais is scoured to get rid of the graphite which covered the yarns during the weaving. The webs are then thoroughly rinsed. Some patterns have to be clipped, which means that it's necessary to cut and shave the floating yarns which link one motif to another. This task requires a meticulous adjustment of the cutting blades and is completed by a final check by hand on the examination table. After washing, the wet lace is preset and framed at a temperature of 190 to 210 degrees Celsius according to the yarn composition of the lace. This will give the final required elasticity. The dimensional standards of each pattern are determined during the sketching and drafting process for both rigid and stretch lace. Presetting is a very important operation since it gives the final dimensional characteristics of the original sketch. Only after the presetting will the lace be dyed. Different dyeing machines will be used by the dyer to achieve the many colors from light to dark offered by dentelle de Calais. Once the lace has been dried, several meticulous checks are performed. A sample of color is compared with the customer's master color swatch. The warp and weft repeats are measured. as is the elasticity for the stretch laces. In an air-conditioned laboratory, various sophisticated measuring instruments are installed. A spectro-color machine analyzes and records all the color characteristics. The rejected shades are thoroughly examined to determine the margin of error of the color. With a video microscope, the various faults due to either the weaving or yarn fragility are clearly detected. Burst strength tests are also carried out on each new pattern and checked during the production process. Each lace web will now be finished according to the width. Wide width or all overs are separated into 3 pieces. Bands or galloons after the warping process are separated into several pieces before they're scalloped. This particularly delicate stage enables us to highlight the scallop of the lace by liberating the pearls, which typify the name and the perfect finishing of Dentelle de Calais. Once the lace has been scalloped, each band is meticulously examined. Some parts may have been damaged during the previous processes, depending on the fragility of the lace. The defect is repaired on a sewing machine by a highly qualified mender in order to regain the original quality of weaving. Before the final presentation on spools, the lace is checked one last time on special tables. The general appearance of the lace is checked, as well as dimensional standards such as warp and weft repeats. The spools are then wrapped in plastic film for their protection before they're dispatched to their final destination. More than 70% of the production is exported worldwide. With the wealth of knowledge gained over many years, Dentelle de Calais is today in the forefront of fashion trends, whilst retaining its traditional high standards of beauty and workmanship.